massive inflows for Bitcoin coming up after this. I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about and what the risks are involved with this short-term fluctuations I'm going to be breaking down for you guys. It's better to understand this by going over some articles that came out recently. For example, there's a big Bitcoin supply gap between 70 to 80K. It talks about how we can see a potential, support at 70K, and I'm going to get into that in a moment. And then there's also this headline that a lot of you may already be aware of a massive $524 million short on Bitcoin. And this kind of supports the short-term bearish pathway for this if we fail to get a uptrend confirmation. And I've talked about this in different other videos, but basically we came up from the CME gap and below 80K. And we started moving up higher, and we got a pretty clear first and second wave in. In order for this to give us more confidence, more evidence that we are in an uptrend and that the bottom is in, we will need to see enough bullish momentum to push the price up into this green gap up here between high 87K and 92K. So if you can see Bitcoin make its way up into this area, that will create enough bullish momentum where we have plenty of supports to be looking at as a way to factor in then a fourth wave and then a fifth wave higher, which can bring us back up into 100K. But in order for this to happen, of course, we need to see that bullish momentum break past the 87K liquidity line and break into this area. If this were not to happen, or if it just gets delayed, that can create a lot of bearish momentum due to maybe fear pressure or whatever comes out after this video in the broad economic news. Who knows what's going to be announced. But we know that in order for us to see a healthy uptrend continuation, we need to see enough volume to bring the price up here. So then we can see a reasonable correction and then start moving up higher. Now, we've been trading sideways within this channel for a while. This support line, we've respected it really, really well. We broke below the 120 moving average and bottomed out exactly at the 0.618 that I've been tracking for a while at 82K. And then it bounced up, and it's once again at the premium side of this sideways pattern. So as you can see, if the price were continuing to fluctuate in here, this can create a delay that could, create more fear and some bearish momentum. And if we were to finally break below the 82K level, this will create a very, very clear pathway, in my opinion, to bring in a new low into the low 70Ks for Bitcoin, between 73 to 75K realistically, but it can definitely reach 70K a little bit deeper in this deep red value area, which is this will create an incredible buying opportunity in Bitcoin, in my opinion. But until we have one of two ways confirmed, we just need to keep an eye on Bitcoin. And of course, this will translate into, for example, MSTR. We know that MSTR has rallied quite a bit, maxed out the RSI, and now it's trying to see if it can hold above the 120 moving average. But if Bitcoin were to get that one more dip scenario, so we can get a third deep value low, then that can easily bring MSTR back into this area. So due to signs of sustainability at these levels right now, at least in the short term, it doesn't look too strong in my opinion. I do believe MSTR can go much, much higher throughout 2025, but we still have that short-term fear, tariffs, inflation. We have a FOMC meeting coming up soon, like in 2 days, and then we're at this descending resistance up here. I would not be surprised if this comes back down, but it's gonna make sense in a moment with Bitcoin. And same thing with Mara. We talked about this before. We want to see a break not just below the 120, but a break below this retracement area right here. And then I said ideally it would make sense if we consolidate under this area for a bit and then maybe test this red deep value area on Mara. That would be a crazy buying opportunity in my opinion. So we are currently consolidating. Now we're going to see if we're going to stay below the retracement, stay below the 120, and then maybe get a dip into this red deep value area. So there is plenty of reasons why the price could go from here, with correlation to Bitcoin, but it will make sense for us to see, the RSI max out a bit more aggressively like we've seen before we start retesting, the 120 moving average, start making our way back up and start diving into this green area up here a bit more aggressively. So I think it really does make sense, because also today's rally didn't bring it back up the previous swing high right here. So there's still some bearish momentum on Mara. I'm not too aggressively short on it in the short term. It's just that, it's very uncertain, and there is more potential downside before we can start rallying up higher. And this all has to do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin being in this premium section of this sideways consolidation channel, not showing too much bullish momentum to sustain it and continue much higher to confirm this third wave. But until we do break below the 82K, which is the 0.618 orange retracement line down here, then this is still in play. Being able to go up higher and reach the high 80s is still possible as long as we hold above the 0.618. The moment we break below the 6.18, I will be deleting this. It will be invalidated, and instead I'll be looking at, an increased likelihood of us actually not just, it's possible we can find support somewhere in this area, but the point it breaks below the 0.618, I believe there is going to be a strong bearish momentum building up, and that will easily bring us down. We can see one more low and testing that deep 70K area, and we can easily dip into this red area slightly before seeing a quick recovery up, because again, these discounted levels are not very sustainable, and soon enough a lot of this tariff fears and potential recession fears will fade away, and at that point, that's when the massive inflows begin with Bitcoin. So like in the title of this video says and all that, this massive big money inflow is really going to come in once we get confirmation of, again, it's either an uptrend. If we can break up into this area, we can start building up that bullish momentum, or we get the one more low, and I'm leaning towards the one more low scenario as being most likely to see Bitcoin dip down for a short period of time, but dip down more deeply than it did down here, and then before we move up higher. So if we can see that happen, if we can see the low 70s price, man, the amount of money, the big inflows are going to be going into Bitcoin, in my opinion, are going to be great, amazing, because it's super deep value. It's already not sustainable at these levels, so imagine it going down here. It's just super strong recovery afterwards. So it's just something to keep an eye on. It's something to be cautious about. But we will get that big money inflow soon. We're just trying to finally break out of this sideways moving structure. And again, I'm leaning more towards downside than upside at the moment, just because we keep making slightly of a lower high every time we do kind of get enough momentum to push up higher. And on top of that, there's just still no progress being made on the broad economic fear source, which is tariffs. We still got a lot of that in the background cooking, so it's just something to keep an eye on. But yeah, very, very cautious moment in Bitcoin right now, and then we'll have that big money inflows coming in soon. We just got to finally see the price break out, and if it does break out to the downside, this will be a lot better, because we can all pick up Bitcoin at a much better deal before we start seeing those inflows pick up throughout this year. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and take care.